everybody, and welcome to another episode of Cup of Joe. It's actually the 17th episode of Cup of Joe, and it's been fantastic. 17 episodes. I've absolutely loved doing this show. And again, this is Cup of Joe is a program where we recap the NCAA football results and we preview the upcoming NFL Sunday and Monday games. Looking forward to diving into this because we have some great NCAA action. The big four the big two, I should say, the two big games um, that decide who's going to the national championship game weren't great after all, but a lot of times they're not. And again, this year they weren't. So we got two winners who are going to be playing for the NCAA championship on January 10th, and that's Alabama and Georgia. So not surprised by the results. I was kind of pulling for Michigan there just so we can get a non-SEC team against Alabama. I assumed Alabama was going to win, and they did. But unfortunately, when I say unfortunately, it's nothing against Georgia. I was just hoping to get a non-SEC team against Alabama, but Georgia stomped on Michigan. We'll get into that in a little bit. But just want to say good morning to everyone here. What is it, January 2nd, 2022? I hope you all had a happy new year, Merry Christmas, and happy holidays to you and your families. We got some comments over here. Chris's videos. Chris's videos. Good morning, my friend. Glad to see you. And also, this is a very important weekend. It is championship week for fantasy football. So if you're into fantasy football, or if you're in fantasy football, if you've made the championship game, congratulations. Don't forget to set your lineups. I was in 5 leagues this year. I made the championships in two leagues. So I actually set my rosters already, but make sure before the games start today, make sure you go and check your rosters. Make sure that people aren't out due to injury, last second injuries, or COVID. Just check your lineups, okay, everyone? But just a friendly reminder. And again, though, fantasy football is coming to an end this weekend. Good luck to all of you for first place, second place, and third place. Anyway, before we get into the content, let's do the bells and whistles over here. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Give us that 5-star Apple review. We greatly appreciate it, and it helps us out a lot. Where you can find the show: Apple Podcast, YouTube, Podbean, Spotify, and Facebook, where we have two pages. That is Toilets to Titles and When a Family Breaks, which is our Facebook page dedicated to the trading of sports memorabilia. Check it out. It's very cool. And you can go to patreon.com/toilets to titles to learn how you can further support the show. And we have our own website, toiletstotitles.com. It has all of our videos, articles, tons of fantasy and NFL football content. Check it out. We've got 14 or 15 contributors here, including myself at Toilets and Titles. Each of us brings our own thing, whether it's videos or articles, whether it's fantasy football content or NFL content or even NCAA content. So we bring it all. We all add our own thing. Check it out. Videos, articles, everything. I think you'll enjoy it a lot. I know I do. I forgot to change this over here. Following this show is not Dollars to Deuces. Following this show is The Blitz, which is our weekly fantasy start sit advice. So any of you who are in the championship games for fantasy this weekend, you want to check out this show. It starts at 10:30 following my show, and the hosts are Mike, Alex, and Justin. And I forgot to change this banner. I apologize. I'm doing this live right now. Fantasy start sit advice. Sorry. Okay, so again, following the show at 10:30 a.m. is the Blitz Fantasy Start Sit Advice. It's on following the show at 10:30 a.m. Send your questions through the chat. We eventually want it to be a call-in show. We're trying to build it up to that. But any questions you have, send them through the chat. Every single question will be addressed, and you'll be getting advice from 3 different people. Again, so you'll be getting advice from multiple sources. And again, that'll be Mike, Alex, and Justin. Those are our regular hosts of the show. It's a great show. I'm usually in the chat as well after the program. I absolutely love that show. So, all right, let's get to our college content. Let's get it out of the way. Then we'll move on to my NFL picks, my updated NFL picks. So, college, number one Alabama defeated number four Cincinnati 27-6. The Bearcats went down fighting. I mean, it wasn't, the best of games. Cincinnati clearly, met its match here in terms of the quality. Cincinnati had not played a team this good. They beat Notre Dame early this year, um, and that's a good win for Cincinnati. And they actually handled. I think they beat Notre Dame like 27-13 or something like that. So they handled Notre Dame pretty well. But that was really their only ranked game that they played up until up until they played for their conference championship a few weeks ago. So it was, in my opinion, it was really kind of hard to judge Cincinnati. I never really felt like they were the number four team. Nothing against them. I think they were a top 10 team, but I never felt like they were really a number four team. I felt like maybe Oklahoma State should have been in there, but you have to earn it. Cincinnati did earn it. Don't get me wrong, they did earn it. They had gone undefeated throughout the year, but Alabama took care of business. Let's go on that box score real quick. Um, let's see. And again, the national championship game is going to be January 10th. January 10th. So let's go to this box score over here because some players had huge games. Brian Robinson Jr., that is a name you want to remember if you're not familiar with it. Brian Robinson Jr., he's going to be the next great running back out of Alabama. He ran for 204 yards. 26 carries, 204 yards for Brian Robinson Jr. Bryce Young, quarterback, from a freshman quarterback for Alabama, didn't have a well, he did have a big game in terms of touchdowns thrown, but only 181 yards passing. But he didn't really have to pass it all that much. He went 17 for 28, 181 yards, three touchdowns, one interception. And again, that's Bryce Young, quarterback for Alabama, and that's a name you want to remember because he was the Heisman Trophy winner, I believe. And he's going to be a fantastic quarterback when he eventually gets to the NFL. Let's see. I'm just looking for big numbers over here. Jameson Williams, wide receiver for Alabama, he had 62 yards, relatively quiet game, but again, Alabama ran for over 300 yards. They ran for 301 yards total. Alabama didn't really need to pass they really didn't need to pass the rock in this game anyway. Another name you want to remember, wound up having a pretty good game, pretty fairly quiet for him, but he went up against a very good defense against Alabama. Jerome Ford, running back from Cincinnati, put up 77 yards on the ground, and he also put up 11 yards receiving. So he put up 88 yards total. Pretty good game for Jerome Ford, who had, I forgot the number of touchdowns he had this year, but it was in the teens. And Jerome Ford, running back for Cincinnati, had a fantastic season. That is another name you want to remember. He will be hitting, I think, the NFL, I think this year. I think he'll be entering the draft this year. Desmond Ritter, quarterback for Cincinnati. He went fairly quiet, 17 for 32, 144 yards passing. And he's considered also one of the better quarterbacks in the nation in college. I'm not a fan of his. I'm not a huge fan of his myself. But like I said, the Alabama quarterback, Bryce Young, that name you want to remember. All right, so I'm going to move on over here. Let's move on to the next game, and that was number three Georgia defeated number two Michigan, 34-11. Just quick side note: I always felt like Georgia never should have dropped. When Georgia lost to Alabama, they shouldn't have been dropped to number three. They should have dropped to number two because they had been ranked number one for a long time. They'd easily handled all their opponents except for Alabama. So Georgia, I didn't feel like should have been dropped to number three anyway. It's a small point. They should have been Georgia should have been number two, Michigan should have been number three. Not a big deal, but just something that kind of bothered me a little bit. I thought it was a little unfair. I didn't think Georgia should have been busted down all the way to three. But anyway, Georgia took care of business. That Georgia defense is for real. They had a hard time against Alabama, and I'll tell you one thing I noticed. Before we get into the details of this game a little bit, I noticed on ESPN, because I go to ESPN for their betting lines. I'm not a big bettor, but I do my picks for the NFL games. I noticed for this game, for the national championship game, that Georgia right now is giving 3 points. Now, I don't trust that. That could be a mistake. I think ESPN has typos oftentimes in their picks. Yes, if you go back a few days later, they seem to change quite a bit. So I only checked ESPN. I didn't check DraftKings or any other betting site in terms of the spread. But on ESPN, according to ESPN, the spread was Georgia giving 3 points against Alabama. in the championship game. If that line is for real, if that is for real, if I were the betting type, and I'm not, the only betting I do is really poker occasionally and fantasy football. That's it. But if I were the betting type, I would go and I'd lay my money right now on Alabama because I don't think that spread's going to get any better. I can't believe that it's actually, I can't believe Georgia would be favored in the game against Alabama after Alabama kicked their front teeth in a few weeks ago. Um, so if that's true, if it's Georgia giving 3 points, go place your place your bet right now. I would strongly recommend betting on Alabama to win, especially if they're getting the points. But I can't believe that's accurate. That's going to be a mistake. Anyway, Georgia defeated Michigan 34-11. I want to say kudos to Michigan. You had a great season. I'm really happy for you. I'm really happy that you made it to the top four. Your program badly needed it. Your coach, Jim Harbaugh, who I am a huge fan of, I was when he was the coach of the 49ers. I like him a lot. I really do. And I was really glad to, he's gotten so much heat over the past few years because Michigan had not lived up to expectations under his guidance. And here they made it to the Final Four, deservedly so, deservedly so. And unfortunately, they got curb stomped by Georgia. But overall, Michigan had a really, really good game, a really good year. And let's go into the box score of this game. These numbers weren't really, there were no outstanding numbers here, in my opinion, on the offensive side of the ball. Really, maybe there was like one player. Let me go into, let's see, Georgia real quick. Yeah, I mean, Georgia ran it for 190 yards, but the opportunities were really spread all over the place. So really no one to call out there. James Cook, Georgia wide receiver, 112 yards, one touchdown. Brock Bowers, here is the name you want to remember. Brock Bowers, freshman tight end from Georgia. He's not going into the draft this year. He's a freshman. I'm not sure if he can go in after next year or in 2 years. I'm unsure of what the rules are. But Brock Bowers, tight end at 55 yards, receiving and a touchdown. The yardage doesn't sound huge, but remember, he's a tight end and he's had much bigger games than this. But Brock Bowers is a name you want to remember. He's an outstanding tight end, and he's a freshman for Georgia. 55 yards, one touchdown. And Stetson Bennett had a really nice game for Georgia. He's the quarterback. He went 20 for 30, 313 passing yards, three touchdowns, zero interceptions. I'm not a Stetson Bennett guy. I don't think he's that great of a quarterback. But he had a very good game against Michigan, who's got a very good defense. Looking over Michigan over here. Yeah, really nothing to talk about with Michigan on the offensive side of the ball. Georgia had 4 sacks altogether. Nakobe Dean is a name you want to remember. He had a sack, 2 tackles for loss. He's an outstanding linebacker from Georgia. Nakobe Dean. At least I think the first name is pronounced Nakobe. Nakobe, and the last name is Dean, Dean. Um, Looking at for other notable names over here. Nolan Smith is another Georgia name you want to remember. He's another linebacker. Georgia's got an outstanding linebacker core this year. Nolan Smith is another name you want to remember. He's a linebacker, also had a sack, 5 solo tackles, and 8 tackles altogether. And again, Nakobe Dean, besides having the 1 sack and 2 tackles for loss, he also had 7 total tackles, 5 of them solo. So great performance uh, by Georgia's defense. Michigan defense, which has got a lot of talent on it as well, did not have any sacks. They've got 2 excellent players entering the draft on the defensive side of the ball. Michigan, that is. Aidan Hutchinson, who was in the conversation. He might have even come in second place for the Heisman Trophy. He could very well be the number one pick. If he's not the number one, he'll probably be somewhere the number three. Aidan Hutchinson, defensive end for Michigan. Quiet game. He had 3 solo tackles, no sacks, 1 tackle for loss. But Aiden Hutchinson is a name you want to remember because he may be the number one draft pick this year in 2022. Um, and another defensive end, actually, I think he's an outside linebacker. Let me see. Where is the guy? Where is Ojabi? Ojabi. Where is he? Interesting. I can't find his name, but I can't find him. Did he not play? Interesting. Okay. But remember the name Aiden Hutchinson. He's probably going to be the first round, the number one overall pick. There's a very good chance he will be. Let's move on through these games over here. Okay. Oklahoma State. I called this result here, not the score, but the end result. Number 9, Oklahoma State. And in my opinion, Oklahoma State should have been number 5, not Notre Dame. And I'm a Notre Dame fan myself. Oklahoma State defeated Notre Dame 37-35 in a really good game over here. Let's go into that box score. I like Oklahoma State a lot. I thought Oklahoma State should have been number 5. Um, let's see. Damn, so many games. Let's see. Guys, there's so many games. There were so many games this past week that, all right, I found the game over here. Okay, let's go into the box score real quick. Um, so let's see. Oklahoma State running back Spencer Sanders had 125 yards. Oklahoma State ran for 234 yards altogether. Spencer Sanders, quarterback for Oklahoma State, went 34 for 51, 371 yards, 4 passing touchdowns. Jack Cohen, quarterback for Notre Dame, went 38 for 68, 509 yards. Again, Jack Cohen, quarterback Notre Dame, 38 for 68, 68 passing attempts. Holy cow. 509 yards, 5 touchdowns, one interception. Great game by Jack Cohen. Um, Great game by Jack Cohen, quarterback of Notre Dame. Let's see. Going back to the Oklahoma State side, wide receiver Brennan Presley, 137 yards. Wide receiver for Oklahoma State, Tay Martin put up 104 yards and 3 receiving touchdowns. Uh, Notre Dame wide receiver Lorenzo Styles Jr., 136 yards and a touchdown. Chris Tyree, 115 yards and a touchdown. Kevin Austin Jr., 105 yards and a touchdown. And Michael Mayer, that's Mayer, wide receiver Notre Dame, 72 yards, 2 touchdowns. So it was a crazy scoring game. Oklahoma State Cowboys pulled it out. And like I said, in my opinion, they were the fifth best team this year in college football. So congratulations to Oklahoma State. Okay, let's move on. Ohio State defeated Utah 48 to 50, 48 to 45. Ohio State was ranked number 6, as they should have been, in my opinion. They defeated number 11 Utah 48 to 45 in a wild game. That's a box score we have to go into as well. And that may be the last of the box scores that I go into for the college games today. Guess we need to move this along a little bit. Um, I'm looking for Ohio State. Man, there's just so many games. Do, 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 do. Sorry, guys, there's like dead air time. I do apologize. I do apologize. I'm looking for there's so many games today. This week, I should say, this past week. It's hard to find these the box scores. Okay, so again, let me pause that. That's a little video. That's annoying. Ohio State quarterback C.J. Stroud. I'm not crazy about him as a talent, to be honest with you, but he does have really good games in college. C.J. Stroud, quarterback for Ohio State, 37 for 46, 573 yards, 6 touchdowns, 6 passing touchdowns, 1 interception. Um, okay, Ohio State wide receiver. Jackson Smith Nigba or Nigba, Jackson Smith Nigba. I never taught myself how to pronounce his name. Jackson Smith Nigba. Um, Wide receiver for Ohio State. Get ready for these numbers. 347 yards receiving on 15 receptions. Again, 15 receptions, 347 yards receiving, 3 touchdowns. Incredible, incredible. Um, Looking over here, let's see, Utah. Nothing great by the quarterback there. Utah running back Cameron Rising, 11 carries, 92 yards, one rushing touchdown. Um, that's it. I mean, the attempts, both rushing and receiving, were really distributed all over the place in this game, except for Jackson Smith Nigaba. Again, the Ohio State wide receiver, 347 yards, 3 touchdowns. Wild, wild game. Okay, so, all right, let's go through the rest of these scores here. I really don't want to go into any more box scores. I want to move the show along. Number 7, Baylor defeated number 8, Ole Miss, 21-7. I got that one wrong. I thought Ole Miss would win. Number 10, Michigan State defeated number 12, Pittsburgh, 31-21. Number 16, Oklahoma. Oklahoma had no business being number 16. They should have been much higher than that. Much higher than that. They took care of Oregon pretty easily. Oregon was ranked 14. Oklahoma took care of Oregon pretty easily, 47-32. And just a reminder, both of their head coaches are moving on to other teams. Oklahoma, their head coach is moving on to USC, and Oregon's head coach, I believe, is moving on to the University of Miami. Number two, this is a game I believe I did call on Rich's show, Dollars to Deuces. Number 22, Kentucky defeated Iowa. Number 15, Iowa, 20-17. Um, Let's see, number 17, Wake Forest defeated Rutgers. Rutgers is one of the teams I root for. I'm born, raised in New Jersey. I'm born, raised, and live in New Jersey. So I got to follow Rutgers, and they're boring. So I just, silently follow them. I'm not really too into them, but they got stomped by Wake Forest, 38-10. Number 19, Clemson defeated Iowa State 20-13. It was a pretty good game, like I thought it would be. Clemson didn't, they're not what they were, for the previous few years when they had Trevor Lawrence. But Iowa State's also a pretty good program. They weren't ranked, but they did have, I think, one, maybe two upsets this year of ranked teams. And they played just really good games. They played close games. So I wasn't surprised that this is also a close game here. But Clemson pulled it out 20-13. Number 20, Houston defeated Auburn 17-13. Two very good teams here. Auburn wasn't ranked, but Auburn actually did bounce in and out of the rankings the entire year. Houston entered the rankings later on in the year, like the second half of the year, and they stayed in there. They stayed in there for the most part. Uh, Two good teams, two pretty good teams. They defeated Auburn 17-13. Auburn has a really good defense, and I'll tell you, Auburn, man, Auburn that there was a game a few weeks ago that would have changed everything. It was like the second to last game of the regular season for the NCAA, and Auburn was up pretty big against Alabama. It looked like they were going to win. Alabama did everything they possibly could do, like in the fourth quarter, to pull that game out. Um, that was one of the best college games I'd ever seen. Alabama versus Auburn. Auburn almost won. If Auburn had beaten Alabama and Alabama, that would have been Alabama's second loss. Alabama probably would not have made the top four, and they wouldn't be going to the NCAA championship game. So if Auburn had hung on for that win, that was a great game. Auburn Auburn should have won that game just because they were up big at one point. They really had that game in hand, but Alabama being Alabama worked a lot of fourth quarter magic, and Alabama pulled that game out. And from there, Alabama just for the next few games they beat Georgia. They really stomped on Georgia, and now Alabama finished the season ranked number one, and they're going to the NCAA championship game. But hats off to Auburn to really taking it to Alabama a few weeks ago. And I don't hate Alabama. I have a lot of respect for them. It's just that, hey, they're the cream of the crop. They're the top of the hill. And to see these other teams really taking it to Alabama and almost defeating them is impressive. And Auburn could have changed history. They were this close to changing history. Auburn, if they had beaten Alabama and given them that second loss, Alabama wouldn't be in the NCAA championship game. Unbelievable. Okay, let's move on. Arkansas had a good year too. They finished the season ranked number 21. They defeated Penn State 24-10. Arkansas's got a really good defense. They had a good year, Arkansas, and hats off to them. They defeated Penn State, who's one of the teams that I like. Here in the north, I live here in the Northeast. I root for Penn State. One of the teams I root for. Arkansas defeated them 24-10. Western Michigan defeated Nevada 52-14. Air Force. Air Force defeated Louisville 31-28. Let's hear it for our armed forces college football teams because I think they all won. I think they might have all won the bowl games they were in. I believe Army won and I believe Navy won, or at least they put up really good games, but I think they won. And all three teams actually did very well this year. And I don't know about Air Force, but I know that Army and Navy, but I think especially Army put up some really good fights against some good teams. But Air Force defeated Louisville 31-28. I know Louisville wasn't right, but Louisville's a serious college program. That's impressive. Wow, very impressive. Texas Tech defeated Mississippi State 34-7. Minnesota's a team I like a lot. They defeated West Virginia 18-6. And now, ooh, let's see, that slipped in there by accident. Okay, Maryland defeated Virginia Tech 54-10. South Carolina defeated North Carolina 38-21. Purdue defeated Tennessee 48-45. That's a crazy game, huh? Crazy game. And let's see. You know what? I'll tell you what. Let me go into this box score. Nah, you know what? I won't. I won't. Purdue defeated Tennessee 48-45. Wisconsin defeated Arizona State 20-13. Central Michigan defeated Washington State 24-21. And there were like two or three games that were canceled. I'm not sure why. I really didn't look into it, but they were canceled. Uh, Maybe because of COVID. I'm not sure. But that's it, guys. That's it for really the NCAA season, except for the national championship game. There are some other bowl games coming up. Um, well, yeah, I think there are some games today, but really, obviously, we've got the NCAA championship game that's coming up on January 10th, and again, that will be number one Alabama versus number three Georgia. And like I said, the spread that I saw on ESPN today was Georgia giving 3 points. I can't believe that. If that's true, if you like to bet on college football, go on bet on Alabama immediately. Um, in my opinion. But that might be a mistake. I can't believe that, but we'll see. Anyway, guys, okay, let's get into the week 17 picks. They've been updated. I gave my initial picks on my Wednesday program. And let me do my share screen over here. All right. Boom, boom, share. Okay. Yep, you guys can see that. Cool. Okay, so these are my week 17 picks. I have updated these for Sunday morning. Melvin, go, 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 go. Sorry, my dog came for more food. He loves to bug me. Anyway, okay, so we got the Falcons at the Bills. The Bills are giving 14 and a half points. I'm taking the Bills, giving the points, and the Bills straight up. If this game were in Atlanta, um, oh my God, Melvin, go. All right, guys, you know what? Hang on one second. I'm sorry for the interruption. If I don't give him a little more food right now, he's going to be up my rear end. He's going to be whining the whole time. Hang on one second. I apologize that it was very unprofessional, but my dog Melvin, I space his breakfast out and his dinner. I space his breakfast out throughout the morning, and he came up to me looking for more food. If I didn't give it to him right now, he was going to be whining the whole time I was doing the rest of this segment. So I do apologize. But anyway, back to the Falcons and Bills. Falcons at the Bills. The Bills are giving 14 and a half points. The Falcons have been a tough team this whole year. They've surprised many people. I think they're only like a game under 500, maybe two games under 500. Falcons have had an admirable year. People thought that teams like the Falcons and the Eagles were not going to have good years. Both not really the Falcons. They're not fighting for a playoff spot, but the Eagles are. If they don't have the seventh spot right now, if they're not in it, they're certainly in a good position to earn it. The Eagles, but the Falcons also had a very admirable year. They've hung in really tough this year. But this game's in Buffalo. The Falcons are from Georgia, which is down south, warmer weather. They play in a dome. This game is in Buffalo, where it's going to be a lot colder. I assume it's going to be cold up there today. I haven't checked the weather, but I got to go with the Bills. Even though it's a big spread, I got to go with the Bills giving the points, and definitely the Bills straight up. Okay, so then we got the Giants at the Bears. Okay, Bears are giving 6 points. I'm taking the Bears giving the points, and the Bears straight up. Is this game actually? Hang on one second. Let me see. Is this game in Chicago or is it at the Meadowlands? Oh, it is in Chicago. Okay, okay, okay. It is in Chicago. Okay, so anyway, the Bears are giving 6 points. I'm taking the Bears, giving the points, and the Bears straight up. I really don't care who the quarterback for Chicago is today. The Giants are the most banged up team in football this year. I mean, they had the deficiencies coming into the season anyway, especially on the offensive line, but everyone's banged up. They can't really put up more than like 6 points a game. the Giants I'm talking about. So, and the Bears defense is actually still pretty good. So I'm absolutely taking the Bears, giving 6 points. I'm taking the Bears, giving the points, and the Bears straight up. The Chiefs at the Bengals. The Chiefs are giving 3.5 points. I'm taking the Bengals getting the points. I'm taking the Bengals getting the points in Cincinnati, and I'm taking the Chiefs straight up. So I am taking the Chiefs straight up to win this game. The Chiefs are rolling. The Chiefs are as hot as any team in football right now. The Chiefs are looking great. The Chiefs earlier this season, for like the first 6 games, they looked really shaky, really shaky. Um, and but now it looks like they've really straightened out. They've really solidified. Their defense is playing well. Everything's just looking really good. It's like all cylinders go right now for the Chiefs. They're looking really good. So I'm taking the Chiefs straight up. I'll take the Bengals getting the 3.5 points in Cincinnati. Dolphins at the Titans. The Titans are giving 3 points. I'm taking the Dolphins getting the points. The Dolphins have been playing great. They've been playing really well, but this game's in Tennessee. I'll take the Dolphins getting the points, but I'm going to take the Titans straight up. Derrick Henry's not playing. It's not a surprise. I had seen rumors. I think like a week ago that Derrick Henry, maybe it was 2 weeks ago, where Derrick Henry, there was some thinking that he may be able to play by this game by week 17, but it looks like now that they pretty much have the division in hand, pretty much, that they're just going to hold him out for the playoffs. But apparently, I did read an article this morning or yesterday about Derrick Henry that apparently he's looking really good in practice. He's running like no limp, like no issues. He's looking really, really good. But I think they're holding him back for the playoffs. But I had actually picked him up in my Frankenstank league. Frankenstank is the league that Toilets and Titles started and runs, and we're all in with a bunch of our viewers. And it's like a vampire league where if you win, you can steal one player from the opponent that you just beat. And Derrick Henry was, he was one of my guys that one of my running backs from early on this season. I think I actually poached him from someone else. I think in week 1, and then I actually, basically dropped him when I dropped him basically when he got injured, and I just picked him back up on waivers like a week ago when I saw a rumor that he may be available for week 17. So I'm like, all right, let me make this move, put him on my bench just in case. But it looks like he's not going to be playing today. But it looks like again, Derrick Henry should be ready for the NFL playoffs. Um, okay, let's move on over here. So we did Dolphins, Titans. Okay, Raiders at the Colts. The Colts are giving 8 points. I'm taking the Colts giving the points and the Colts straight up. The Raiders are a pretty good team. They had a pretty good year. Um, and but you know what? Let's see. The Colts, I mean, they got Jonathan Taylor, and the Raiders have a good pass defense, but their run defense, leaves something to be desired. And the Colts, the strength, as good of a year as Carson Wentz is having. Oh, and by the way, Carson Wentz, that reminds me, jeez. I'll say this, Carson Wentz, I think he may be playing. I saw last night that Carson Wentz is off of the COVID list, but he just needed an okay from the doctor to play. The Colts giving 8 points, I assume Carson Wentz is playing. Don't take my word for it. Check it out. Check it out. I believe Carson Wentz, I assume he's playing today. If the Colts are giving 8 points, I'm assuming Carson Wentz is playing today. But just don't take my word, check it out. Because I know he was taken off the COVID list yesterday, but he still needed an okay from a doctor. So the Colts are giving 8 points. I'm going to take the Colts giving the points and the Colts straight up. I think this could wind up being a good game anyway, but it is in Indianapolis. They've got Colts have Jonathan Taylor. Raiders, the weakness of their defense is the rush defense. And then if Carson Wentz is playing, Carson Wentz is having a fantastic year. So I got to go with the Colts, even though they're giving 8 points. Jaguars at the Patriots. The Patriots are giving 16.5 points. I'm going to take the Patriots giving the points and the Patriots straight up. It's just my only hesitation is that line is so big. Um, but Bill Belichick makes every game a nightmare for rookie quarterbacks, and he'll be going up against Trevor Lawrence today. They also, there's some turmoil in Jaguars land with Urban Meyer no longer being around as a head coach. That's actually probably a positive. But this game's in New England. The Patriots are a very stout team, and they've got Belichick, the greatest mind in NFL history, to just completely haunt Trevor Lawrence today. So I think even though the spread is 16 and a half points, I got to go with the Patriots. Of course, straight up and giving the points as well, though. Buccaneers at the Jets. The Buccaneers are giving 13 and a half points. I'm taking the Buccaneers giving the points and the Buccaneers straight up. Um, I do believe Antonio Brown should be playing today. He should be playing today. Don't take my word for it. I've seen, reports, most reports saying that he's expected to play today. So it wasn't 100% certainty, but he is expected to play today. They don't have Leonard Fournette, the Buccaneers, but they still got Ronald Jones III, who I don't like at all, but he plays on the Buccaneers. He's capable of having some really big numbers. He's also capable of shitting the bed, to be honest with you. But they also have Gronkowski. It looks like I think Mike Evans is expected to play as well. But at the end of the day, they still have Tom Brady and they still have a very good defense as well. So I'm going with the Buccaneers, giving 13 and a half points. Eagles at Washington. Okay, the Eagles are giving 4.5 points, so the spread's gotten even bigger. I think it was originally it opened up with the Eagles giving 3 or 3.5. It's now Eagles giving 4.5 points. I'm taking Washington getting the points, the Eagles straight up. So the game's in Washington. I'm taking Washington getting the points and the Eagles straight up. I shouldn't do that because it seems like whenever I take Washington getting the points, I get burned. But the game's in Washington. I'm going to take, again, I'll take Washington getting the points and Eagles straight up. Rams at the Ravens. The Rams are giving 6 points. I'm taking the Ravens getting the points and the Rams straight up. I got to take the Ravens getting 6 points in Baltimore, even though they are a very beat up team. And I'm not even sure who the quarterback is going to be. I assume it's going to be Johnson again. I assume Johnson's going to be the quarterback again, Josh Johnson. He actually had a pretty good game last week. Or at least, I think, yeah, he had a pretty good game last week. So it's in Baltimore. I gotta go with Ravens getting the points, but I'll take the Rams straight up. Let me check out the comments here. Mike Smith, cool picks. Thanks, Mike. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate you, Mike Smith. And thank you for popping up in the chat. I really appreciate it, buddy. Broncos and Mike, if you're still listening, let me know what your team is. Let me know who your favorite NFL team is. I'm always curious. Chris's videos, who is or was in the chat. He's a Bears fan. I am unfortunately a New York Giants fan. I'm always curious to hear what the viewers' teams are. Texans at 49ers. 49ers are giving 12 and a half points. Yeah, I'm taking the Texans. Ah, all right, so Texans are at 49ers. The 49ers are giving 12 and a half points. I'm taking the Texans getting the points. I'll probably regret that this game's insane. You know what? I'm changing that right now. Texans they've been playing admirably, I have to say. But you know what? I got to go back on this. I'm going to change this in real time as you're watching. Okay, I'm taking the 49ers, giving the points and the 49ers straight up. Hats off to Texans for having an admirable year. I don't think anyone expected more than like 1 or 2 wins for the Texans this year, and they're up to four. And their young quarterback, unheralded, Davis Mills, is having a very respectable, quiet, under the radar rookie campaign. I'm really happy for Davis Mills. Got to root for that guy. You got to root for that guy. Um, but it's in San Francisco. 49ers are making a push for a playoff spot. I got to go with the 49ers giving the points and the 49ers straight up. Let's see. Cardinals at the Cowboys. I changed this one. The Cowboys are giving 6.5 points. I originally had the Cowboys giving the points. I changed it to the Cardinals getting the points. I'm taking the Cowboys straight up. I do think the Cowboys are going to win, and I think the Cowboys are capable of blowing the Cardinals out. But I also think the Cardinals are due for a bounce back game here. Um, nah, you know what? I got to change this real time as well. I just remembered DeAndre Hopkins is out. No, 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 no. I'm going to change this to the Cowboys giving the points, and I think the Cowboys, if it was any indication last week, they kind of gave me what I wanted to see from the Cowboys. They curb stomped whoever their opponent was, they curb stomped them last week, as the Cowboys should have. The Cowboys, I think, are the second or third best team in the NFL this year, behind the Buccaneers and possibly the Packers. Um, the Cowboys have way too much talent on both sides of the ball, especially the O side. And you know what? I think they will take charge in this game. And I think the Cowboys are ready to roll. I think they're ready to roll starting last week, heading into the playoffs. I think they're ready to roll. and just, and really playing up to their ability. That's what I mean. And the Cardinals are, they're crap in the bed right now, like they did last year, but Cardinals just have a lot of young talent too, or, including the young quarterback, where I'm not surprised by their now, they've had like a 4 or 5 game losing streak. Cardinals are still one of the best teams in the NFL, absolutely, but I never bought into them being the best team this year ever, or even being like the top 2 or 3 team. I never felt like that. Um, but I think the Cowboys, they've got a lot of veterans on this team, and they're ready to start taking control of their own fate, the Cowboys. And I do think they're going to win this game. I'll take the Cowboys giving the points, and I'll Cowboys straight up. Again, this game is in Dallas. Panthers at the Saints. The Saints are giving 6.5 points. I got to take the Saints giving the points, and the Saints straight up. I don't even know who the quarterback is in this game. I haven't checked it out, but I just don't like the way the Panthers have been playing, and this game is in New Orleans. So I'm going to take the Saints giving the points and the Saints straight up. Lions at the Seahawks. Seattle is giving 7.5 points. Man, Lions, they've been getting some wins recently. They've been getting some wins, and I'm really happy for the Lions. I think they're trending in the right direction under their new head coach Dan Campbell, and the team overall, their head office seems to be focusing on building a physical team with these Lions, which is what they need to do. I like that. Um, and Seattle is not looking good, but the game's in Seattle. It's in Seattle, and that's a tough ask for a team like the Lions to win in Seattle. Even though Seattle's not a very good team, the game is in Seattle. I think that's a tough ask for the Lions to pull that out, to pull up an upset there. And 7.5 points really is not all that big. I mean, Lions could still lose by like 10 points and it could still be close where, maybe they're losing by like a field goal most of the game and then Seattle gets like a last second touchdown. So I'm going to take Seattle giving the points in Seattle straight up. The game's in Seattle. I'm taking Seattle both ways. Vikings at the Packers. I believe the Vikings quarterback, the Packers are giving 13 points in Green Bay. I believe, what's his name? I'm brain farting on his name right now, but the Vikings quarterback, I believe, is on the COVID list. I don't know why I'm brain farting on his name, but anyway, the Vikings quarterback is on the COVID list. So the Vikings will be playing with their backup quarterback. Packers are giving 13 points. I have to go with the Packers giving the points and the Packers straight up. I have to go with the Packers giving 13 points. Uh, even though Vikings are a pretty good team, but again, the starting quarterback he's on the COVID list, so he won't be playing today. Who knows? Check back. Maybe he'll be off the list before the game, the COVID list before the game. That happens a lot. I think the NFL is kind of watering down this, their COVID rules and regulations. They're kind of watering them down over the past few weeks. So check to see if the Vikings starting quarterback is possibly starting before this game does start. Who knows? Maybe it'll change. But as of right now, it's Packers. I'm taking the Packers giving the points and the Packers straight up. Browns at the Steelers. The Browns are giving 3.5 points in Pittsburgh. I'm taking the Steelers getting the points and the Steelers straight up. Again, this game is in Pittsburgh. That should be a really good game. That should be a good game. But I got to take the Steelers getting the points in Pittsburgh and the Steelers straight up. And people, those are my updated picks for week 17. Oh, Mike. Okay, so Mike, okay, so all right, Mike Smith, you're an Eagles fan. Hey man, listen, our two teams hate each other. We have a great rivalry, even though you guys always kick our asses, my Giants. You guys are having a really good year. Um, I think, the season that you're having, many people, and many NFL fans were not expecting you guys to have really more than 4 wins, kind of like the Falcons. You guys are having a good year, and I just want you to know I thought you made the right decision in giving Jalen Hurts at least a full season to show what he can do. And I'm not sure let me know, Mike, how you feel about Jalen Hurts. I always see kind of like mixed things out of Philadelphia on Jalen Hurts. Like some people love him or like him, and some people don't like him. They think he's just more of like kind of like a fantasy quarterback. Um, I haven't watched any Eagles games really, except when they curb stomp the Giants. But um, every week, Jalen Hurts is putting up big numbers, man. And I thought it was good that they gave him at least a year to show something. How do you feel about Jalen Hurts, Mike? If you're still in the chat, I'm always curious to hear about that. But I thought it was a good idea. I thought they made the right decision in giving him. And I thought this going into the season they should give Jalen Hurts a full year to show what he could do. The guy had some like Lamar Jackson type tools. And I thought they should give him a shot. and it's worked out. You guys, if you don't have, I don't know if you have the number 7 spot right now, but I know you're definitely in the hunt for it. So good for you. Texans could win this one. Yeah, you know what, Mike, I'm rooting for the Texans too, because that organization, I feel so bad for that fan base, man. They went through so much. Garoppolo's out. Oh, that's right, Garoppolo's out. Ooh. You know what? Thanks for reminding me. You know what? I'll stick with my pick because they've got the running game. San Francisco still has the running game. That's their bread and butter. And that San Francisco run game is so hard to defend against. So it's in San Francisco. I will stick with my pick. Thank you for pointing that out. I forgot. Garoppolo's out. Trey Lance is starting today. Trey Lance is starting today. And I saw a lot of positive reports over the past few weeks on Trey Lance. Apparently, how excited the 49ers coaching staff is about him in terms of how he's been performing in practice, like over the past few months. That he's been really picking it up. Apparently, he's looking really good. Now, there's a big difference between the practice field and the NFL field, but and he's not used to starting, so we'll see, But apparently, the 49ers coaching staff are really, really happy about what they've seen from Trey Lance on the practice field this season. So, yeah, you know what? Texans could possibly win. Texans probably could, they possibly could win. I forgot about Garoppolo being out, but I will take the 49ers, even though it's a big spread. I will take the 49ers, giving the points. That run game, like I said, is tough to defend against. And 49ers have a good defense. They have a good defense too. Yeah, yeah, Dallas has better defensive wide receivers. They're healthier too. They're healthier too. Not having DeAndre Hopkins really hurts Kyler Murray and the Cardinals. And they're just, they have Dallas has really good young talent. They also have good veteran talent too. So they've got a really good mix. So, I got to go with Dallas. I wouldn't be surprised if the Cardinals have a bounce back game. I thought for a while throughout most of the season that I was saying for like the first like 8 weeks of the season, I was saying I'm not betting everything. I'm not betting the house on the Cardinals yet. I didn't think they were the best team in the NFL. I thought they looked great. They were putting up a lot of points. The defense was looking good, but there was just something about the Cardinals. I'm like, you know what? They got to prove it to me throughout the entire season that they're really this good. Because I just didn't see it on paper. So the Cardinals are a really good team. Don't get me wrong, Cardinals are a sexy team. They are built to flourish for the next 5 years, I'd say at least. The Cardinals look great. But I think the Cowboys they're one of the top three teams, along with the Buccaneers and the Packers. The Cowboys have a pretty good defense. I wouldn't say it's a great defense, but they got some real playmakers. Obviously, they've got some real playmakers, in their cornerback and their linebacker, Micah Parsons and Diggs. I mean, that's a great combination. Micah Parsons is looking like an absolute all-pro stud beast in his rookie year. He's looking phenomenal. So, but Cowboys obviously have an offense that's very hard to stop. And really, it's like the Cowboys offense, it's more like you gotta have to kind of hope that the Cowboys hurt themselves, like they shoot themselves in the foot on offense, maybe like bad play calling or undisciplined play, because it's really hard to stop their offense if they're playing the way they're capable of. Anyway, guys, all right, so we're gonna wrap this up over here. Thank you so much for joining me this episode, Cup of Joe. Hope you had some coffee or tea with you. Let me just go through our in-season schedule. We are working on here at Toiletstotitles. We are working on our off-season schedule. I intend to have a lot of draft content that I'm going to be working on for my off-season programs, but these are still our current in-season programs. Monday night waiver wire. It's our waiver wire advice, Patreon members only. And well, it's pretty much done now, right? It's done now. So no more Monday night, no more waiver wire program Monday nights. That's done. That was for fantasy football, obviously, and that's done. Fantasy football is ending this weekend. But Tuesday at 8 p.m., Toilets and Titles, our flagship program at 8 p.m. Wednesday at around 9 p.m. is my other show. That's Joe Knows NFL Review Preview. That's where I review the previous week's NFL results, and I give you my initial preview of the upcoming games for the NFL week. Following that show at 10:30 p.m. is Dollars to Deuces. That's our weekly betting advice show. Thursday at 8 p.m. is a dash of DFS. And actually, um, for the next few weeks, or at least going forward, a dash of DFS is moving to Saturday mornings at 8 a.m. Saturday at 7:30 p.m. is our Down Under Dynasty program. I guess that'll be wrapping up this week too. We have a team of guys in Australia who are really into not just fantasy football but dynasty fantasy football, and they're all about dynasty. They give their own advice. We got a team of 3 guys in Australia who do that. It's great. So that's at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Down Under Dynasty. Sunday at 8 a.m. is the show you're watching right now. And then following the show at 10:30 a.m. is the Blitz. That's our start sit. Eventually, it will be a call-in show, but right now, any questions in terms of looking for start sit advice for fantasy football, send it through the chat. Again, the show is the Blitz. It's great, and you have 3 hosts to give you their own opinion. Any questions you have, all questions you have, will be addressed by 3 different voices. So you can take it all in. It's great. These guys have been doing fantasy football for a long time. They know what they're talking about. And again, here are the Twitter handles for me and all my compatriots, all my fellow patriots here at Toilets and Titles. There's like 15 of us now. Follow us all. We just, we all we all bring something to the table, whether it's NFL content, fantasy content, NCAA content, whether it's in the format as videos like you're watching now or articles. We all bring something to the table, guys. And one friendly reminder, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe, hit that bell, give us that 5-star Apple review. We'd really appreciate it. It helps us out a lot. Anyway, guys, I'm out of here. Enjoy today's NFL games, tomorrow's Monday night game. Good luck to all of you in fantasy football for, the championship games. I'm wishing the best of luck for all of you. All right, guys, I'll catch you on Wednesday on my other show. Take care.